Hi, I'm Nelson, and this is the Sir Nelson IELTS and General English Training. In this video, we are going to focus on the IELTS speaking test. And this is the second reason of scoring less or a low score. The low scores in the IELTS are 4 and 5. Remember, many candidates score 4 and 5. Why? The second reason, remember I've given you other reasons, and these are very many videos. The first language interference. How is this a problem? This is different from accent. Let's learn how first language can influence your score in the IELTS. The speaking test is scored on a band system from 0 to 9. A score of 0 is someone who cannot speak any English at all. You go for the test, but you basically cannot speak anything. A score of 9 is someone who can speak English in exactly the same way as an educated native speaker of English. Remember, they are natives who are not educated, and the way they speak might not be that nice. So if you can speak like an educated native speaker, then you qualify for band 9. So the higher scores of 6, 7, and 8 are quite near to native speaker style English. This is very important. Native speaker style English. So for you to get 6, 7, and 8, you must produce native speaker style English. This is where our next problem occurs. When we speak a second language, most people are heavily influenced by their first language, regardless of what these languages are. All of us who are not natives, we are influenced by our mother tongues or first languages. This causes problems because, as we have just seen, to get a high score for speaking, it is essential to produce native speaker style English. What is native speaker style English? We shall learn about that later on in the course. But in fact, most candidates produce their mother tongue style spoken English, and that brings problems. In other words, they speak English in a similar way to how they speak their mother tongue. How does this happen? It is not easy to instantly change your style of speaking, but one important step is to first consider the style of your first language and compare this with the style of the second language. Basically, to be able to speak English in the style of a native speaker, it is necessary to compare your first language with spoken English. When you can recognize the differences between these two speaking systems, it will be much easier to work on removing the elements of your first language that influence your second language speech. Different speaking systems. Now let us look at the different speaking systems. The economics of language. What does this mean? Different languages can be easily distinguished by the amount of words that native speakers produce in normal speech. How many words do you produce in normal speech when you are asked a question? For example, consider answering this question in your mother tongue. What food do you like eating? Use your mother tongue, not English. How many actual words did the answer contain? What food do you like eating? Answer that in your mother tongue. As spoken languages, many operate quite economically. Native speakers of many languages are able to hold conversations and communicate effectively using small amounts of language. It's possible that you have not used very many words when you are answering these questions, and that's where the mother tongue interference comes in. Most languages, they need few words to answer basic questions, and that's not a problem. People will understand. That way, the way that many languages have developed means that users of the language are able to exchange precise and exact ideas or concepts using limited amounts of words in their speech. In many languages, we don't need a lot of words to answer. But in the IELTS, that's a problem. Many languages can therefore be described as economical languages. In simple terms, they don't waste words. Our languages, many languages all over the world, they don't waste words. A simple question, you answer it in a simple way. Spoken English, on the other hand, is quite uneconomical. It requires large amount of words to communicate even basic ideas. In other words, spoken English wastes words. And in the IELTS speaking test, you should do that. Native speakers of English do that all the time. You should do it if you want to get 7+. This is our first major difference between spoken English and other languages. As a result of this, your IELTS responses should be longer than your natural spoken first language response. Remember, native speakers of English waste words. A simple question, they use many words to answer. And if you want to get a higher band, you are supposed to produce a language which is not very far from the natives.